why we have these gatherings, and they are very interesting, is that it gives Sabina and I an opportunity of meeting groups and individuals and people who write in who are making such important contributions to our lives together. And I think that is incredibly important. I was just thinking that it is 5 years now since we had the first lockout in relation to COVID. And we lost so many people during COVID, but also I think a great deal of the time are very many people in the artistic community, the voluntary community, the people like that. And I think the importance of these kind of gatherings became all the more important, because so many of you that Sabina and I have just met are people who are if you like, responsible for the resilience of Irish community and doing so in such a very valuable way. It's of its nature, because of the different things you do, that our gatherings are eclectic. And I think there were some of you here who were know for a very long time, and others. But I just wanted, because myself, over the 13 years, I have been thinking about, much of it will be reflected when I give my St. Patrick's Day speech, on the importance of values. And some of the gatherings we've had in the Áras, even last week, were very, very moving. I met some people from the Southeast Fermanagh Foundation who were victims of killings, murder, troubles, as from people. I have difficulty confining myself to using the word troubles, because these are people to whom enormous losses are almost irrecoverable for them. And some of the visits are very moving. I was at Michael Longley's funeral, and I thought about all the artists and how many poets we lost in the last just very, very recent time. And a man came up to me, and it was in fact George Larmour, and he said to me, "I am the ice cream man's brother." And of course he recalled how Michael Longley, the importance of arts, the importance that attaches to that. And he referred to Michael's poem, and he said, the ice cream man was Michael's poem. It said, "Rum and raisin, vanilla, butterscotch, walnut, peach." You would rhyme off the flavours. That was before they murdered the ice cream man on the Lisburn Road. And you bought carnations to lay outside his shop. I named for you all the wild flowers of the burn I had seen in one day. Thyme, valerian, loosestrife, meadowsweet, twayblade, crowfoot, ling, angelica, herb robert, marjoram, cow parsley, sundew, vetch, mountain edens, wood sage, ragged robin, stitchwort, yarrow, lady's bedstraw, blindweed, bog pimpernel. And George said that I'm not a great lover of poetry, and at first I didn't know what to think of the poem as I skimmed through it quickly. It seemed just a ridiculously short piece of poetry, which mentioned the ice cream man being murdered on the Lisburn Road, followed by simple lists of ice cream flavours and wildflowers. But as I reread it a number of times, I was somehow taken on a peaceful and emotional journey and found tears welling in my eyes. I started to understand the beautiful simplicity of Michael Longley's words and the many hidden layers that slowly emerged. This was a master excelling at his craft. And I thought of that today very, very much when the authors who are with us here, for example, this afternoon, and it was just so important. I think recently then as well, it fitted very much with the visit that we had from Kenny Donaldson and the people from South Fermanagh, and how important it is to exchange with honesty and emotion the consequences of our history. And I think that language can become dead if it's become flat. in a long way. It's very interesting, George Lorimer. It was he who wrote about it. To the living we owe respect, but to the dead we owe only the truth. And giving about the truth and things, there are many ways. When I was organising Mocknov, among the people who was of most assistance to me when we were coming to the end of that series of recollections in history was Tony Varney. Tony Varney and I know each other for a long, long lifetime. We were, he might have been a student of mine at one stage, but the point about it is he became a most valued colleague, and we worked together in what was UCG and also in Southern Illinois University, where we both shared. And what Tony has done in a way is that he's been a power really in the importance of that period in the 1920s as well, which we might find very difficult to deal with. There were a great number of people left the country with no hope. A great number of people had land and wanted more. A great number of people were living in poverty, and so on. So every now and again it's very, very important. And that brings me, if you like, to the second book, which are kind of Martin's book. Where is Colwell Martin? And you see there somewhere. Yeah. I think that Martin's book, Dirty Linen, The Troubles in My Home Place by Martin Doyle, does exactly the same what it does. Everyone, for example, Roddy Doyle, Hen Enright, Michael Gallen, Joseph O'Connor, have all recommended it for the quality of the writing itself. A beautiful book published by Merriam Press. And I have to say what that does, and it's something that people again try to avoid, is when the funerals are over and the statements have all been made, people are actually looking at the tables where there's a missing place. And there is a moving part in it as well, even more than when I was talking about they killed the Iceman, or the effect on a parent who can't live with the missing pieces that are there. And I think that Martin Doyle's book, The Troubles in My Own Place, Dirty Linen, it's described by Fergal Keane as one of the finest memoirs of the conflict I've ever read. But it has something that I have found missing, and that is that some people think that in able to describe an experience, you have to kill the language first, as if, in fact, you can't engage with the feelings that were there and the strength of the emotion. And he has that in perfection, and I've told him I speed read it because I was coming, but I'm going to go through it more slowly. But again, this is why, in a way, one of the great adventures in the Áras in the last 13 years was in encountering what was neglected. The historiography that had been ignored, the feelings and emotions of experience of saying that, in fact, actually had given way to more formal accounts and towards description. We have to live life more than describing it badly. And I think that's why the importance that I mention and the privilege I'm giving today, as I'm in my last year, to the importance of the artistic contribution. I think that Martin's Dirty Linen, I've read it already. Now we have the people from the Green On Theatre. They're 25 years in the go. But as I reminded them, it's 30 years since I gave the grant for the Green On, and I had to go up to Letterkenny to say, you'd better hurry up or you'll lose it. But they have done just wonderful work. And then we've had the people that Sabina and I have met, led by Michael Darragh Macaulay, and Graham Clifford here, the members of the Sanctuary Runners. I had the great privilege of accepting their invitation to become their patron recently. And I do want to say, and that's so important, what they're doing are acts of friendship and respect for migrants, asylum seekers and refugees, and bringing greater awareness to the migration system. One of the things about their evidence now, they meet migrants, they work with migrants, they're aware of the feelings of migrants. And how different that is from formal statements of saying to people, how are you to handle, where are you going to send them when they have their papers are concluded. I think this is incredibly important work. And it is also, it's very, very interesting about in the Celtic tradition, because the word hospitality. The word hospitality had a particular meaning for respect for the stranger. And it's one of the big differences between the Celtic nations and the other nations in a way. And the idea, we used to have a big discussion on what was unqualified hospitality and the rest of it. And it had a huge effect in what, in fact, Tony Varley was writing about. Because Bishop Nulty in 1880 said if we were to be hospitable, we couldn't be giving absolute ownership on land. With ownership of land came the duties of looking after the people in general. 1881. He was one of the rare bishops who was in fact referred to by Karl Marx. I think that we're coming to the spring, and I think as well. And I want to pay tribute to those, for example, my dear friend is here, Philomena Begley. On the road, now in many ways, still on the road, and who knows what. And I make strong representations to Cathy Nugent so that you might be able to be thinking about something, Philomena, that we go back. I think that the day we're in it as well, we should all, and as I said, spring is coming with light and resilience and hope. And we must all welcome any glimmers of peace that are coming towards us, towards an end of war and the preparations for war. There are millions of people worldwide who are struggling as a result of all our interacting crisis, climate change, the threat of war, dispossession, all of that. And I think that is, again, when I say about hospitality, it's one of the marks of Irishness in comparison with many other different other forms of rhetoric. The Irish people have not had it quenched in them to be interested in peace rather than war, and to be interested in people who are dispossessed, and also to see the enormous, almost outrageous breach of humanity it is to refuse food to people and to assistance that people need. And therefore that, in relation to all those Irish people who in their different ways abroad, and many will have relatives, the fact that we are concerned about Sudan and Bangladesh and the Democratic Republic of the Congo and the people searching in the rubble for what was their houses in Gaza, doesn't mean that we are somehow or another not modern, or that we're not concentrating on the right things. It's the very best Irishness we could be expressing, and therefore I think that that is incredibly important. It's not the natural condition of humanity to shift your gaze. And I do think as well, that's why, as I'm coming to the last year now, and in the last year, but we must have the courage in relation to facing history, and face not just the facts of the different violences that were inflicted on other people, but we must have to try and see put ourselves into the remnants of their lives. And that means, in many cases, qualities of compassion and tenderness and empathy that are very important. And I do think the young people are telling us, all of our responsibilities now are not just to ourselves, but to future generations, to deliver a planet that is livable in, to deliver one that is not entirely bound by consumption. The idea that one of the most, looking back on it, I'm 84 in a month's time, but when I look back on it, when I look at the history, and Tony and I would have discussed this, the mark of the present form of economics is accumulation. If you looked at the hundreds of years when people were thinking in boats of capital and whatever, it's an extraordinary thing that we look on our televisions at people who simply will never have enough. And the great gesture of the two richest people in the world is that they'd like to go into a cage and have a fight. When you look at centuries of culture and philosophy and so on, and my wish is that long after I am gone, that there will be a moment in the discourse for philosophy again, because we've paid a heavy, heavy price. The language has become shabby, the interests have become narrow, the concerns have become weaker, and too many people are shifting their gaze. But that will all change, because no more than spring coming, there's also the possibility that people will think, as all of you do, with all the good that you have been doing your different ways. In the end, isn't it because we're doing things together that we have hope? And out of that will come the inspiration and the joy of living together. There are places and spaces of resilience. And often it was in the most conservative and regressive times that some of the greatest innovations and artists came forward. And I think that us all working together, Sabina, by the way, was out visiting prisons this morning, and she has emphasised entirely the importance of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which are our best chart, really, for living together sustainably, peacefully, and in my view, morally. But many people have helped organise this event. The staff here in the Áras actually make everything possible. You will have enjoyed all that they have prepared for you, and I want to thank them. And I want to thank all those who work in my own office. Our wonderful musicians, Cathy Nugent and Eugene McCarthy, who will be with you in a moment. We have civil defence first aiders, but I haven't seen anyone collapsing yet, so I think that's all right. And I think as well, I hope that today is an enjoyable day for us all. Míle buíochas on Uachtaráin of Héilín. I'm so glad that you have all made and continue to make such a contribution to Irish life. I'm so pleased that you found it possible to accept our invitation to be in the home of the President, where you are most welcome and which you're most welcome. So, buongiorno Vassantranona, is got banach ni a wanda Philip order got them talky. I so wish you well for the future with health and happiness. And I want to take this opportunity as I'm in the final year of thanking all of you and your families and communities for the warmth and support that you have offered to Sabina and myself over the years. Thank you very much. Míle buíochas.